Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be on how to train effectively at home, as a lot of the workouts you see on Instagram or other places are very cardio based, and that might not be the best way to maintain muscle mass whilst in lockdown. So I'm going to go over a few things which I think is how you should be working out at home to effectively maintain muscle mass. I'm going to structure this video is I'm going to give a few tips on a couple of things that I think you should be doing, and then throughout the video is going to be more like training clips, and I'm effectively going to do some sort of like voiceover. So now I'm going to cover some bodyweight exercises that I think are very effective for maintaining muscle mass and can be done with or without weights. A lot of these don't really need weights. But if you did want to add that, you can, and then with these videos I'll also tell you how to create harder versions of them, so which will help with progressive overload. So if you are struggling with these exercises to begin with, and then over a couple of weeks then you can add these extra things in to make things harder for you, and these variations are like a really killer for your workout. So yeah, let's go straight to it. This exercise, the single leg hip thrust. You can use a chair, sofa, anything that you can prop your back on. Don't go too low, don't go too high, just driving with one foot and the other. Yeah, this is actually quite a burner, and if you did want to put weights on, you can lay them on your stomach. This one actually is a bit of a killer. Yeah, I like this one. Number 2, step ups. So effectively you can do this on a chair, anything you have, which is kind of, the higher it is the better, but obviously be careful. Yeah, and you're effectively just stepping one foot up and then do it again. And then these can be made harder if you put weights on, but just be careful because it's easy. So like my chair is really slippery, so it's really easy to like slip. Next one is the frog pump. This is a bit of a weird one, looks a bit weird, but effectively you want to put your feet together and lay down and then just thrust up. Here my muscle connection is really key, so if you think about what you're doing then you really will get a good burn here. And for the frog pump, that's one of the ones where you want to be doing really high reps, so you could do like 50 reps really quickly, and that will be a either a really good warm-up or a really good finisher. The next one we're going to look at is a deficit lunge. So here you want your front foot to be elevated. This will give you a greater range of motion, so it'll be basically tearing more muscle fibres and makes it a lot harder. It's kind of just like a normal lunge, but your front foot's up and then just lunge down. Next one is a B stance hip thrust. So one foot is in front of the other, but the other one is bent forward. And then again, you just want to use that mind muscle connection and really make sure you're using your glutes rather than just like motion or your back. So yeah, really squeeze up with those glutes. Another essential home leg day is the split squat. So you should want to put your foot on something behind you. It can be a chair, sofa, whatever. This is really hard, but is a great leg workout. Next is the wall sit. This is a killer bodyweight exercise and it will really burn your quads. I'll put a timer on for 2 minutes and hold it for 2 minutes, rest for a minute and then complete again. Yeah, and then if you want to increase intensity, put some weights on your lap. A couple of other ones which I haven't actually recorded but I would recommend is the reverse hyper. This is kind of this is really why I didn't record it, because it just looked a bit weird. Effectively you want to lay on something. I use my sofa and then lift your legs up. Yeah, I'd say if you did those exercises in your workouts, you would be able to maintain muscle mass. This is purely for lower body only, not upper body. Next I'm going to cover how to make your workouts harder, so variations from the exercises I've just given. A good way to increase the intensity of your workouts is using tempo. So we have the concentric, a hold, and then the eccentric. So for example, if it was 5, 2, 3, then that means on the concentric you're going down for 5 seconds and then you hold for 2, and then on the eccentric, so on the way back up, you go up for 3 seconds. This really is a killer, and because it increases the time under tension. So instead of, this is such a good substitution when you don't have the weights. Even if you do have weights, they might not really be strong enough to what you could be lifting in the gym. So using tempo training is yeah, it's a killer. Once you try it, you will know. What I find difficult with this is counting the reps and also counting the tempo. So what I'll normally do is when I'll go down, I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2 as I hold, and then on the way back up, I'll go 1, 2, 3, 1, and then the next time I know it's 1, 2, 3, 2 for the second rep. But yeah, sometimes reps and tempos is difficult, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. I'd say the tempo is more important than the amount of reps that you can complete. You can also incorporate pauses. This can be done without a tempo as well, so you just do your normal rep and then hold at the bottom for a certain amount of seconds. The next exercise you can make harder is using I do a goblet squat here, so instead of just doing one complete rep, you do 1.5 reps. So you complete the first rep, come up halfway, come back down, and then up again, and that's just one rep. So if you had 10 reps, you'd go 1 up, down, up, 1 rep, and then just complete. So it's again increasing your time under tension, breaking those muscle fibres, which is great if we're trying to retain muscle mass here, and it also does make it a lot harder. Rather than just increasing the reps, you add in the extra half rep. Other things you can work on to make it harder is work on your form. I know that sounds a bit of a weird one, but if, for example, like pistol squats, if you're not very good at them or you can't really do them, if you keep working on your form, that's kind of a form of progressive overload, because you'll be working the muscles better because you're actually doing it more proper. For example, with the hip thrust, firstly we want to tuck our neck in, secondly we want to tilt our pelvis in, and thirdly we want our feet to point outwards. Another way to increase the intensity of your exercises is decreasing your rest time. So a great way, I normally just do it on my Apple Watch. I'll put the time, like my workout mode on, and the time will be on my watch. So then I can, once I finish the set, I go, okay, right, I've only got 30 seconds of rest, I'm going to time this. And so yeah, a great way is to record your rest times and then next time drop them. So that's a great way to make it increase the intensity. Another way to increase the intensity is through the form of drop sets, which is a little bit difficult when you don't have the weights anyway, but what I would find is if you're using something with a weight and then drop down to a body weight and just do the reps again, so basically a drop set is where you do the exercise for, let's say you've got 10 reps, so you do 10 reps of, let's say, a squat, and then you use a lower weight. But if you don't have a lower weight, then do the body weight exercises. You also do pulses. So for example, if you were doing a squat, you would squat down, do a little pulse and come up. So it's not all the way down as like the half rep, it's more just a pulse. So for example, I'll show you. So here, if we're doing the squat, half rep, we're gonna go down, up, down, 1. Whereas if you're wanting to use like a pulse, you're gonna go here, down and up. So it's kind of just like a smaller range of motion. So I would say those things, if you add them into your workouts, that will really, really increase your intensity, and you will find that you're struggling a lot more, and that is a form of progressive overload and will really help with trying to maintain muscle during this lockdown. When training at home, I'd say the mind-muscle connection is actually really important. I think it's kind of underestimated a lot of the time, but if you don't have that, it's going to make it more difficult for you to connect that muscle. You're squeezing the muscle so you are actually working that muscle. Also, I should mention, if you don't actually have any sort of home weights, you can also use substitution. So for example, get a backpack and fill it with things to make it heavy, and if you want to do some squats with it on, or front squats, or if you're in a wall sit, pop it on your lap. I know some people you have like big gallons of waters. If you do have access to them, which might be a bit difficult, that's kind of like a cheap substitute to buying some weights.